Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to show you one of my other web gear setups that I've put together. This one is my standard Rifleman's web gear setup for my 2nd Armoured Division, and that can be used for Normandy onwards. So that's nothing, no OD7 or anything like that. This is a really nice flexible Rifleman web gear. So let's take you through what I got on here. Right guys, so before we move on to most of the gear, just so I can change the position of the camera, I'm going to walk you through the bayonet first and the scabbard, because that is obviously difficult for me to get in frame here because it's so long. So if I just pop this out here, bring this up to the camera for you a bit, you can see we've got a really nice M1905 bayonet, a 42 dated one. So it's a really nice piece that I got recently. I've been looking for one of these for a long time. But these have got really stupidly expensive in the UK. I saw one of these with a not very good scabbard for sale for £450, which is just insane. This one didn't cost anywhere near that much. So as soon as I saw it for a good price, I just grabbed it. And it happens to be a really nice example. So hopefully you can see that in the camera there. So obviously this is the full size bayonet, not the shorter one that you often see in the World War II impressions. So if I pop that back in the scabbard. It's got a nice M3 scabbard with it as well. Everything is structurally fine in it. That has been painted, which isn't the end of the world, but for now that'll certainly do. If in the future I ever find a really nice example of a scabbard that hasn't been painted or anything, I'll buy that instead. But again, the scabbards on their own I've seen going for more money than what I paid for both of these combined, and that's just silly. So we've got this really nice big bayonet with this impression, and the reason I've gone for the full length one instead of the shorter one that you normally see in World War II stuff is because there's a number of photos and video of the 2nd Armoured Division in Europe for D-Day, things like that, where they've got the full length bayonets attached to their cartridge belts. And I'll see if I can get some screen captures and some photos and put on the screen for you whilst I'm talking about this, so you can see what I'm talking about. So that's specific for this impression that I wanted to have the full length one. Right guys, so now that the bayonet and the scabbard's out of the way, I can put this in a slightly better position for you to be able to see the different parts. So let's start out with the cartridge belt. So you've got your standard M1903 cartridge belt here, and I've got that full of M-block clips with inert rounds for a Garand as well. The only pouch that doesn't have anything on is the one behind the bayonet, because that makes the bayonet kind of push into your leg and it's very uncomfortable. So this pouch is empty and the rest of them are full. If I just do one of the lifter dots, and you can see the M-block inside it with the inert ammunition. It's sometimes a bit of a struggle to get them back in the pouches just because that's so warm. So this cartridge belt in particular is very well used. So in a minute I'm going to try and get a close-up for you so you can see. But there's a lot of wear on this belt. All of the eyelets and everything are still there. Some of them are starting to get a bit sketchy. But there's tons and tons. And if you can just see this down here, you see the green of these like field repairs in this really heavy duty thread that have been used, and nearly every pouch on the belt has got some repairs on it. So I think that's quite nice, because by the time these had been dragged through, through Normandy, they would have probably had to have some field repairs. So I'm very careful with this. It doesn't go out all that much just because I don't want to completely wear it out. That's a really nice example of a cartridge belt that's clearly been seen some nasty stuff, I should say, at some point. Right guys, so I just will bring this up to the camera for you so you can see a bit better. Hopefully you can get an idea of that repair work I'm talking about. You can see all that stitch and repair there. You can still got the US marking on there, it's quite nice. And you got more repairs on the corner here. If I bring up the other side for you, you can see there's more on that one as well. So that's quite a, just get that down there. That's quite a nice belt in that regard. Next up, attached to the cartridge belt, we've got a nice pair of M1936 suspenders. Unfortunately, although you can still see the markings where they were, they're so faded that I can't make out a date on them. If you manipulated with some photo editing or something like that, you might be able to get what the date is, but that really is faded. That's a really nice pair of suspenders. That's even got almost a little bit of transitional going on here with these cross straps being held in with the OD3 almost, and an OD, what almost looks like OD7, but things fade. So that's a really nice pair of suspenders, and that will hold them up. I don't use a haversack with this impression The haversack will be separate. I can have that in a vehicle or anything like that. And that's, again, the reason is specific to the second armoured division, that impression that I'm trying to do. So often you see them with the suspenders on in the vehicles, and then they have a T-handle shovel sat in the cross straps, which I will demonstrate to you in a little while. Next up, we've got standard M1910 canteen pouch here. A nice original canteen and cup go in there. I've got a various selection of them, as you've seen before. The pouch itself, if you can see here, has got a lot of faded markings on it that have been put on it over time. I don't really know what any of them mean, whether they're names of people that it was issued to, just people that have owned it since who've scribbled stuff on it, I can't say. The US marking, as you can see, is nearly faded away, but you can just about make it up. But it's got really nice condition, really. It fits in with the belt well, because the belt is so worn. That's structurally fine. It's got a couple of little holes here and there, but it's a nice pouch. And I just noticed I didn't put my proper glasses on for this video, so you're going to have to put with me being a bit farb for this one. There's no point changing them halfway through the video. So anyway, on the weapon, next up we've got the M1924 first aid cape. Well, not first aid pouch, the bandage pouch here. Again, got a fair amount of staining and marking on this one. It's a nice original example. So again, that'll fit in with the pouch and the belt, which are quite worn. The suspenders are probably the cleanest thing out of all of it, and they've still got a lot of dirt and grime on them. So it's a really nice matching set. So that's everything on this web gear, because that's really a basic rifleman impression. There's just one more addition which I'll show now. Just grab. And that is a really nice M1910 e-tool. Now this has a reproduction cover, and that's the only part of this that is reproduction. It's a very nice reproduction though, as you can see. That's quite a nice shade. That's not banana yellow or anything stupid like that. So that will have to do until I can find a proper M1910 e-tool cover, but they're not very easy to come by, so God knows how long it'll take. But if I just pop this off here so I can show you, there you go. It's a really nice e-tool. I got this off a friend a while ago. It doesn't actually get used that much, like for displays, but whenever I do the rifleman impression, that'll be with me, even if it's just in a vehicle. So that'll be on here. And like I said before, I won't be using a haversack with this impression due to basing it on period photos which show them with the suspenders on instead. So what I'll do with this e-tool, if I can just get the cover back on here whilst I'm running on, is that you often find, if you imagine these are on the soldier's back, you often find the e-tool just stuffed sort of like that underneath, or on top of, I should say, the cross straps of the suspenders. So this is sort of how the weapon's going to look when I'm wearing it. So I'm going to pop this on now and you'll see what it looks like. Right guys, so here we are having it fitted, and now it looks like it's wonky enough. You have to remember that the buttons on the M41 field jacket are to one side, so you can't ever get this looking right because that always looks like it's off centre. So the centre of it is actually here, not where the buttons are, and it's very confusing. It makes you look awkward. Now I see it in the monitor. I never realised how bad it was. But anyway, here's the cartridge belt fitted. You see the bayonet sits nicely down your leg there. If you had the normal M1 bayonet, this shorter one, you wouldn't have the problem of this getting so low and sticking into the ground and stuff all the time. That's a real big pain. But when you're walking around and moving about at events, that's not an issue. You just have to be careful if you sit down anywhere. And then you've got your bandage in front of it. And you spin around to the other side. You've got your little canteen pouch, perfect position just for you to grab. Have that on either side of the belt, whatever suits you best. Now, some people might mention that the medical pouch is meant to be round the back, but for my particular size, and probably a lot of people, I don't see how you could have your canteen in a comfortable position and your scabbard in a comfortable position and then still have space behind it. Because if you move either of them forwards, then they're going to start being a pain. So before anybody picks off saying that these should be at the back, there's plenty of photos of them fitted at the front, probably for the exact same reason that I just mentioned. So just before we go, I'll just point out what I was talking to you about the e-tool. So the cross straps on the back there, if you can hear me whilst I talk backwards, sometimes they just slide the e-tool inside them, so that would sit like this, sort of down there. Now, I've just spent a while trying to actually fit that on my own, and basically that didn't work out. I couldn't get it straight, so it's definitely a buddy system job, that one, I think. So you can either use this with the e-tool on the straps like that, or you could bung this on your haversack, which you could have dumped in a vehicle or anywhere else. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you this because I normally do more late war stuff, and this is certainly not late war. This is applicable any time after Normandy, or during Normandy I should say. So hopefully you like seeing this, and hopefully I'll be able to get this out at some point at some displays. Now the problem I'm having is I want to do a Normandy impression, a good Normandy impression, but I cannot find a decent pair of wool trousers. I've got the 43s, they're really nice. I've got these HBTs, but you wear HBTs and you put that anywhere and everyone's going to say, well, they'll kick off, because people kick off about HBT for some reason. So before I go, if anyone knows where you can get a nice pair of the wool trousers in the UK that aren't green, because they all seem to be too green, so a nice brown pair like what I think they're supposed to be, please chuck me a message in the comments, because that'd help me out a lot. So hopefully you like seeing this little web gear setup, and I will catch you next time.